Hi. In this video, we're going to talk about the structure of your letter for IELTS General Training Writing Task 1. In Task 2, you're asked to write an essay, but in Task 1, you need to write a letter or an email, which is essentially the same idea. Just like an essay, a letter has a very specific format. Think of it this way. An essay is a format. A poem is a format, and a letter is a format too. It has its own structure, and your job is simply to follow that structure. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what that structure is, what parts your letter should include, and in which order they need to appear. Once you understand that, writing letters becomes much easier. It's all about knowing the format and following it, just like in writing task 2. Before you watch the rest of this video, take a look at your worksheet and complete the matching activity. This activity is there to check what you already know about the structure of a letter or an email, and I'm sure you already know quite a lot. Every letter or email starts with a salutation. A salutation is simply a greeting. It's how you say hello to the reader. This part is very simple, but there's one important thing you need to decide before you write a salutation, and that's the tone of your letter. Is it formal, semi-formal, or informal? How you greet the reader depends on who they are and what kind of relationship you have with them. So for a formal letter, write "Dear Sir" or "Madam," if you don't know the person's name, or "Dear Mr. Brown" if the task gives you the title and the surname. For a semi-formal letter, write "Dear Mr. Brown" or "Dear Miss Taylor." So the title and the surname, because you know it already. You already have some sort of relationship with that person. For an informal letter, write "Dear Louisa," "Hi Tom," or "Hello Anna." First names only. That's it. The first line of your letter is just a greeting, a clear, appropriate way to say hello to your reader. So we've already covered the first part of the letter, the salutation, and that's something you must never skip. In fact, none of the parts we talk about in this video can be left out. They all need to be there. The next part is your opening sentence, sometimes called the purpose of your letter. So as soon as you greet the person, as soon as you say hello, your next job is to tell them why you're writing. It's usually a simple sentence that starts with "I'm writing to." For example, "I'm writing to inquire about the position advertised on your website." Or, "I'm writing to let you know about the recent changes in our schedule." Or, "I'm writing to express my satisfaction," or more often dissatisfaction, "with your service." It all depends on the situation you're given in the task. Now, if you're writing an informal letter to a friend, you can begin with a more personal touch. So something like, "I hope you're doing well," or "It's been a while since we last spoke." And then you continue with your purpose, saying, "I'm writing to tell you about my holiday," or "I'm writing to invite you to visit." The key point here is that your opening sentence clearly states the reason for writing. And let me be clear here. This isn't just about IELTS. This is how letters and emails are written in real life. First, you greet someone, and then you state your purpose. That's how effective writing works, IELTS or no IELTS. In fact, in real life, the first sentence can even decide where your letter or email goes. If you say, "I'm writing to express my dissatisfaction with your product," that message will most probably go straight to customer service through automatic forwarding. So once you've clearly stated your purpose, Let's move on to the next part of the letter. Now we've reached the body paragraphs, which is the main content of your letter. This is where you look at the bullet points in the task because that's what you're going to write about. The best approach here is very simple. Use one paragraph per bullet point. So each bullet point is there to guide you. It's your starting point, and your job is to expand on it in detail. So, for example, if the task says, number one, describe the problem, two, explain what you already done, and three, tell the manager how you want the situation to be resolved, that's your structure. Your structure is very clear. You're going to have three body paragraphs. In the first body paragraph, you will describe the problem. In the second one, you explain what you have already done. And in the third, you say how you want the issue to be resolved. Following the bullet points in order keeps your letter well organized and ensures that you address everything that the task asks for. Now, the bullet points give you direction, but what comes next is your input. This is where you add your own ideas, explanations, and examples. That's how you extend the point and show that you can communicate naturally in writing. For instance, if the bullet point says, explain what you have already done, then don't just list one short thing. Mention two or three different actions that you've tried and explain what happened. That's what turns a basic response to a complete one. One more important detail here. Sometimes one bullet point contains two parts. For example, recommend the best time and explain why. You must do both. Recommend the time and explain your reasoning. You can do that in one paragraph, but make sure you don't skip any subparts. Cover everything clearly and completely. The next part of your letter is called the closing statement. It's a short sentence that comes right before you sign off. This sentence rounds off the content of your letter. It signals that you finished your message and helps the letter feel complete. In formal letters, you might say things like, I look forward to hearing from you, or I would appreciate your prompt response, or thank you for your time and consideration, or I look forward to a quick resolution to this matter. Or please let me know if you require any further information. In semi formal letters, where the tone is polite but not too formal, you could write something like, I look forward to your reply, or thanks again for your help with this issue, or I hope to hear from you soon. And in informal letters, your tone can be much more relaxed. So, for example, you could say something like, can't wait to see you soon, or let's catch up again soon, or hope everything's going well on your end, or write back when you get a chance. Please do not skip the closing statement. It's a natural way to bring your letter to an end, and it gives a sense of completion and politeness. And now it's time to sign off your letter, to end it with an appropriate farewell phrase and your name. Just like with the greeting, your sign off depends on the tone of your letter. It always needs to match the level of formality you've chosen. So in a formal letter, you can use yours faithfully when you don't know the person's name. For example, when you start with dear sir slash madam. You can use yours sincerely when you do know the person's name, sorry. For example, dear Mr. Brown, if you start with dear Mr. Brown. Other formal options you can sometimes use are kind regards with best regards, but yours faithfully and yours sincerely are the safest and most appropriate for IELTS formal letters. In a semi-formal letter, the tone is polite but a little warmer. You might write something like best regards, kind regards, kindest regards, with thanks or best wishes. And in an informal letter where you're writing to a friend or someone close to you, you can, of course, not you can, you should keep it casual and friendly. So things like best, take care, see you soon, lots of love, all the best, hugs and kisses. Uh, One thing you need to be aware of here after the sign off, do not forget to add a comma. Then move to a new line and then write your name. That's really important. Without your name, the letter looks unfinished. Please always include it. Let's look at an example letter to see how all these parts work together. This one starts with Dear Andrew. So it's clear right away that Andrew is a friend, which means that this is going to be an informal letter. I'm so happy to hear that you're going to visit my city. I'm writing to give you some tips before you arrive. So the first part combines emotion with purpose. You're expressing how you feel and also explaining why you're writing. That's your opening statement. Now we're moving on to the first body paragraph. And this one says, most people visit Rome in the summer, but I think it's far too hot then. You definitely wouldn't enjoy it. Trust me, the best time to visit is between April and June. It's still sunny and warm enough to swim, but much cooler than in summer. So here we've developed the first idea, recommending the best time to visit and explaining why. Next, moving to the second paragraph. There are lots of places to stay. For example, you could rent a serviced apartment in the city, find an Airbnb in my neighborhood, or even stay in a nearby hostel. There are a few just around the corner and they're really affordable. So don't worry about accommodation. There are plenty of options. That's our second bullet point, giving practical advice about where to stay. And now moving on to the third paragraph. When you arrive, I've already got a plan for you. I'm taking you to the national park where we'll have a picnic by the lake. The water is crystal clear and you can swim. And I'll take you to one of my favorite secret spots. I know you'll fall in love with it, but I'm keeping that one a surprise. This adds a personal touch and shows enthusiasm, which is perfect for an informal letter. Finally, we end with a closing line and a sign off. Can't wait for you to arrive. Looking forward to catching up. Lots of love, comma, Laurel. One final point before we finish. It's very important to understand that a well-structured letter has clearly separate parts and that each part of the letter is visually distinct. So if you look at a well-written email from a distance without actually reading the words, you should still be able to recognize that it's an email just by its structure. This whole story is directly connected to your coherence and cohesion score. If you follow the structure I've just shown you, you'll have no problems in this area because you'll be following the standard letter format that a language exam like IELTS requires. So let's review the structure one more time. So you need, number one, a greeting, your salutation, say hello to the reader. Next, you need your introduction where you state the purpose of your letter. Why are you writing? And then you need a paragraph for each bullet point. Point A, point B, and point C. Typically, you have three. Each paragraph should clearly focus on one idea or bullet point. Please Make sure all your paragraphs are clearly separated. When you look at your letter, even without reading, you should be able to see the different parts. Now, you don't need to leave a full blank line between paragraphs. Don't do that. But you do need to indent, which means to leave a small space at the beginning of each new paragraph. And finally, at the end, you need your closing line, that final sentence before your sign off, and then your sign off itself. Usually, you will leave one empty line before the sign off phrase and then write your name underneath. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.